Nobody in the Hall of Arms had ever seen a Calorian laugh so hard. Dravok Sen stood before the gathered species, his four arms spread wide as he pointed at the small display case in the corner. His iridescent scales caught the light as his body shook with amusement. Around him, hundreds of alien delegates joined in the laughter. "This," Dravok said, wiping a tear from his reptilian eye, "is what the humans brought to the greatest weapons exhibition in the galaxy." The Hall of Arms was magnificent. It stretched for nearly a kilometer inside Station Horizon 12, filled with the deadliest creations from 1,000 worlds. Plasma lances that could cut through starship armor, gravity hammers that crushed enemies into paste, neural disruptors that turned brains into soup. Each weapon was displayed with pride, each one representing centuries of military advancement. And then there was Earth's exhibit. A rusty helmet, some old photographs, a dented water canteen with a hole in it, a few pieces of paper with faded writing. Dravok walked toward the human display, his heavy footsteps echoing through the hall. He was the Academy's most famous weapons master. His species, the Calorians, had conquered 6 star systems through superior firepower. He had personally designed weapons that ended wars in hours. "I must ask," he said loudly, making sure everyone could hear, "did the humans misunderstand the invitation? We asked for weapons, not garbage from a waste disposal unit." More laughter filled the hall. Admiral Yesik, the elderly amphibian who commanded the station, shifted uncomfortably. He had invited the humans to join the Academy as a diplomatic gesture. Now he was regretting that decision. "Perhaps," Yesik said carefully, "the humans have a different approach to warfare." "Yes," Dravok replied. "A failed approach. Look at this primitive nonsense. Chemical propellants, kinetic projectiles. They are still throwing rocks at each other while we harness the power of stars." He picked up a photograph from the display. It showed men standing in muddy trenches, their faces tired and dirty. "What is this? Some kind of punishment ritual?" "That's called a war." The voice was quiet, but it cut through the laughter like a blade. Everyone turned to look at the human who had spoken. He was unremarkable by galactic standards, average height, soft features. He wore simple clothes and carried an old canvas bag. Over his shoulder, his name tag read, Leo Webb, Engineering Attaché. Dravok's 4 eyes focused on the small human. "You speak for your species." "I speak for myself," Leo said, "but I can explain that photograph if you want." "Please do. Educate us on human warfare." Leo walked forward slowly. He did not seem bothered by the hundreds of aliens staring at him. He did not seem bothered by Dravok towering over him. "That photograph is from something we called the First World War," Leo said. "Humans dug holes in the ground and shot at each other for 4 years. About 20 million died." The laughter stopped. 20 million, someone asked, from a single conflict. "One of many," Leo said. "We have had thousands of wars. We got quite good at killing each other." Dravok snorted. "And yet you bring museum pieces to a weapons exhibition. Where are your plasma weapons, your energy shields, your orbital bombardment systems?" "We have those now," Leo said, "but I did not bring them." "Why not?" Leo looked at the small display case, at the rusty helmet and the old photographs. "Because those are not what make humans dangerous." Dravok laughed again, but this time it sounded forced. "Then please, human, tell me what makes your species dangerous. I am dying to know." Leo reached into his canvas bag and pulled out a sealed metal case. It was small, no bigger than his hand. He held it out toward Dravok. "Open this during the demonstration tomorrow," Leo said. "Then you will understand." Dravok took the case. It weighed almost nothing. "What is inside?" "A weapon. This tiny thing. The most dangerous kind." Dravok turned the case over in his 4 hands. "If this is some kind of trick, human, you will regret it." "No trick," Leo said. "I just want you to test it yourself. That is fair, is it not? You are the weapon's master. Test the weapon." The crowd murmured. This was unexpected. The human was either very brave or very stupid. Admiral Yesik leaned forward. The human has issued a challenge, Dravok. Will you accept? Dravok's scales shifted color slightly, a sign of irritation among his species. He did not like being put on the spot, but refusing would make him look weak. Fine, he said. Tomorrow, in the combat arena, I will test your primitive human weapon, and when I prove it is worthless, you will admit that your species has nothing to offer the galaxy. Leo nodded, fair enough. He turned and walked away, his canvas bag swinging gently at his side. Dravok watched him go, still holding the sealed case. The human moved without fear, without tension, like he already knew how this would end. For the first time in many years, Dravok Sen felt something he did not recognize. Later, he would realize it was doubt. 3 days before the demonstration, Dravok found himself standing in front of Earth's small exhibit again. He did not know why he came back. Curiosity, perhaps, or maybe the strange feeling that had settled in his stomach since meeting the human called Leo Webb. The Hall of Arms was empty at this hour. Most species were sleeping or preparing for tomorrow's events. Dravok preferred the quiet. It helped him think. He stared at the rusty helmet behind the glass. It was crude, primitive, made of simple steel with a wide brim. There were dents in it and something that looked like a hole near the top. That one stopped a piece of metal from entering a man's skull. Dravok turned. Leo Webb stood behind him, still carrying that worn canvas bag. You follow me, human. No, I come here every night. Leo walked past Dravok and placed his hand on the glass. These items belong to my family. Dravok looked at the display again. The helmet, the canteen, the photographs, the faded papers. Your family gave their possessions to a museum. They gave their lives to history, Leo said quietly. The helmet belonged to my great-great-grandfather. He wore it in a place called Verdun. Men died by the thousands there, fighting over a few kilometers of mud. Why would anyone fight for mud? Because the enemy wanted it, Leo shrugged. Humans are stubborn like that. Dravok moved closer to the display. He noticed details he had missed before. The canteen had a bullet hole through both sides, meaning the projectile had passed completely through. The photographs showed young men who looked exhausted beyond measure. What is this? Dravok pointed at a piece of paper covered in small text. A letter, Leo said, written by my grandfather's brother. He was 19 years old. He wrote it the night before a battle. He did not survive the next morning. Dravok felt uncomfortable. He had killed many enemies in his career. He had designed weapons that ended millions of lives, but he had never thought about letters written in the dark before death. Why do you show me this? He asked. Because you asked what makes humans dangerous. Leo turned to face him. It is not our weapons, Dravok. It is not our technology. It is the fact that we keep fighting even when we should not. That is stupidity, not strength. Is it? Leo reached into the display and picked up the rusty helmet. This helmet is over 300 years old. The man who wore it survived one of the deadliest battles in human history. He came home, had children, and lived to be 92 years old. His grandson wore a different helmet in a different war. His great-grandson wore another. Each one survived. Each one came home. Dravok stared at the helmet. Your family has been fighting for 300 years. Longer, much longer. Leo put the helmet back. Every human family has stories like this. We have been killing each other since before we had written language. We got very good at it. Then why did you not destroy yourselves? We tried many times. Leo smiled, but it was not a happy smile. The problem is humans do not stay dead. We always come back. We always rebuild. We always remember. Dravok thought about his own species. The Calorians had fought wars, yes, but nothing like what the human described. Their conflicts were quick, decisive. Superior firepower ended battles before they truly began. You are saying humans fight differently. I am saying humans fight forever. Leo picked up his canvas bag. Your species designed weapons to win wars. My species designed weapons because losing meant extinction. there is a difference. What difference? Your weapons are tools, ours are promises. Dravok did not understand. Promises of what? That we will never stop. No matter how many die, no matter how long it takes, we will keep fighting until there is nothing left to fight. Leo started walking toward the exit. That is what you will learn tomorrow, Dravok. That is what the case contains. A promise. Leo stopped at the door. He looked back at the Calorian weapons master with an expression Dravok could not read. Something like that. He left without another word. Dravok stood alone in the Hall of Arms, surrounded by the greatest weapons in the galaxy. Plasma lances, gravity hammers, neural disruptors, each one capable of ending thousands of lives in seconds. But his eyes kept returning to the rusty helmet. 300 years old, passed down through generations, each generation. Fighting, each generation surviving. He pulled out the sealed case Leo had given him. It was so small, so light. What could possibly be inside? For the first time in his long career, Dravok Sen was not sure he wanted to find out. The combat arena was packed. Word had spread quickly about the challenge between the Calorian weapons master and the quiet human engineer. Thousands of beings from hundreds of species filled the viewing platforms, eager to see what would happen. Most expected entertainment. A quick humiliation of the primitive human, something to laugh about over drinks later. Dravok Sen stood in the center of the arena floor, his four arms holding his greatest creation, the Calorian Sunspear. It was a beautiful weapon, sleek, deadly, capable of cutting through starship armor like paper. He had spent 3 decades perfecting it. Generals across the galaxy paid fortunes for lesser versions. Today, he would show everyone why the Calorians ruled the stars. The targets were already in position. Armored drones, shielded barriers, reinforced walls designed to simulate bunker defenses, the standard test for all weapons demonstrations. Ladies, gentlemen, and beings of all configurations, announced Admiral Yesik from his observation platform. Welcome to the demonstration. Master Dravok Sen will begin. Dravok activated the Sunspear. It hummed with power, glowing bright orange along its length. The crowd gasped with appreciation. He moved with practiced grace. The first drone exploded before anyone saw him swing. The second followed a heartbeat later. He cut through the shielded barrier like it was not there. The reinforced wall lasted exactly half a second. When he finished, nothing remained of the targets except smoke and melted slag. The crowd erupted in cheers. Dravok raised his Sunspear in triumph. This was his world, his domain. No one could challenge Calorian superiority. Impressive, Admiral Yesik said. And now the human representative will present his weapon. The cheering turned to murmurs, then laughter. Leo Webb walked onto the arena floor carrying only his canvas bag. No armor, no shields, just a small human in simple clothes. Dravok smiled with all 3 rows of teeth. Where is your weapon, human? Did you forget it? No, Leo reached into his bag. I asked you to bring it, remember? Dravok paused, then he remembered the sealed case. He pulled it from his belt pouch. This is your weapon. Open it. The crowd leaned forward. Even Admiral Yesik looked curious. Dravok broke the seal and lifted the lid. Inside was a knife. A simple steel knife with a wooden handle. Old, worn, nothing special about it at all. The laughter started immediately. It built and built until the entire arena shook with it. Thousands of species, all united in their amusement at the foolish human. Dravok held up the knife. This is a joke, yes, you cannot be serious. I am completely serious. Leo walked toward him. That knife has killed more enemies than your Sunspear ever will. More laughter. How? Dravok demanded. It cannot cut through armor, it cannot pierce shields, it is a piece of sharpened metal. Yes, Leo said, that is exactly what it is. Then how is it dangerous? Leo stopped a few meters away. The arena grew quiet, sensing something had shifted. "Your sunspear is magnificent," Leo said. "Truly, I have never seen anything so powerful, but let me ask you something, Dravok. What happens when the power runs out?" Dravok blinked. "I recharge it. And if you cannot recharge it, then I use a different weapon. And if you have no other weapons, then I retreat and resupply." Leo nodded slowly. "And what if you cannot retreat? What if there is nowhere to go? What if something is coming for you and you have nothing but your hands?" The arena was completely silent now. "That knife," Leo continued, pointing at the blade in Dravok's hand, "was designed for exactly that situation. When everything fails, when all your technology is useless, when you are alone and tired and something wants to kill you." Dravok looked at the knife, really looked at it. The blade was nicked in several places. The handle was worn smooth from use. This was not a display piece. This was something that had been used many times. "My great-grandfather carried that knife through 3 wars," Leo said. "When his rifle jammed, he used the knife. When his ammunition ran out, he used the knife. When he was surrounded by enemies in the dark, he used the knife." "One man," Dravok said. "One primitive man with a piece of metal. One man who refused to die." Leo stepped closer. "That is what humans are, Dravok. We are the species that refuses to die. Give us your worst. Burn our cities, destroy our armies, take everything from us. We will crawl out of the ashes with rocks in our hands, and we will keep fighting." He pointed at the sunspear. "That is a weapon of conquest. It is designed to win quickly." He pointed at the knife. "That is a weapon of survival. It is designed to keep you alive when winning is no longer possible." Dravok felt the knife's weight in his hand. It was light, simple, but suddenly it felt heavier than anything he had ever held. "You asked what makes humans dangerous," Leo said. "Now you know." The silence in the arena stretched on. Dravok Sen held the knife, turning it over in his 4 hands. The wooden handle was warm from his touch. The blade caught the light and reflected it back in a simple, honest way. No energy fields, no power cells, no targeting systems, just steel and wood. "You speak of survival," Dravok finally said. "But all species survive. That is the nature of existence." "No," Leo shook his head. "All species try to survive. Humans succeed where others fail. Do you know why?" "Tell me." Leo pulled out a small device from his pocket and activated a holographic display. Images appeared in the air above them, visible to everyone in the arena. "This is Earth," he said. The planet floated in the light, blue and green and white, beautiful in a way. 70% of the surface is covered in salt water that will kill you if you drink it. The atmosphere is filled with a gas that, in high concentrations, becomes poison. The temperature varies by over 100 degrees depending on where you stand. The planet is covered with creatures that want to eat you, poison you, crush you, or simply wait until you step on them. Dravok watched as images cycled through the display, creatures with massive teeth, tiny insects carrying deadly diseases, plants that burned skin on contact, weather systems that could flatten cities. "We call Earth a death world," Leo continued. "Not because we are proud of it, because it is accurate." The images changed. They showed early humans now. Small, weak, no claws, no armor, no natural weapons of any kind. "These are our ancestors. They had nothing. No fire, no tools, nothing but their hands and their brains." "They should have died," someone in the crowd whispered. "Yes," Leo said. "They should have. Everything on Earth was faster, stronger, and deadlier than us. But we are still here, and most of those creatures are not. Do you know why?" He let the question hang in the air. "Because we do not fight fair." New images appeared. Humans setting traps, humans using fire, humans working together to bring down animals 10 times their size. "We learned to make weapons from rocks and sticks. We learned to use fire as a tool. We learned that a group of weak humans could kill anything if they planned well enough." Dravok thought about his own species. The Kalorians had evolved on a calm, stable world. They developed technology because they were curious, not because they needed it to survive. Every weapon humans have ever made, Leo said, started as a desperate attempt to not die. Spears because our teeth were too small, bows because our arms were too weak, guns because our enemies kept getting better at not dying. The images showed warfare now. Ancient battles, medieval sieges, modern conflicts with machines and explosions. We spent thousands of years killing each other, Leo said. Not for territory, not for resources, just because we could. We got so good at killing that we almost wiped ourselves out several times. Why did you not? Dravok asked. Because someone always survived. Leo smiled grimly. That is the human secret, Dravok. No matter what happens, someone always survives, and that survivor picks up a weapon and starts again. He pointed at the knife in Dravok's hand. That knife has been in my family for 200 years. It has been to places you cannot imagine. Jungles, deserts, frozen wastelands, cities turned to rubble. Every generation carried it because they knew the truth. What truth? That weapons fail, technology fails, power fails, but steel and will last forever. Dravok looked at the knife again. He had designed weapons for 30 years. He understood energy systems, targeting algorithms, and explosive yields. He understood how to kill quickly and efficiently. But he did not understand this. This was something older, something deeper. Your species conquered 6 star systems, Leo said quietly. Mine conquered a planet that tried to kill us every single day. Which do you think was harder? No one laughed now. Admiral Yesik leaned forward in his observation platform. The human speaks of survival, but we are discussing weapons. What does this have to do with military capability? Leo turned to face the Admiral. Everything. You asked what humans bring to this academy. This is your answer. We bring the thing that no other species has. Which is? The knowledge of what it means to truly fight for survival. Leo's voice was hard now, cold. You have won wars, we have survived extinctions. You build weapons to conquer, we build weapons to exist. There is a difference, Admiral, a very large difference. He looked around the arena at the thousands of faces watching him. You want to know how dangerous humans are? Give us nothing but rocks and we will find a way to kill you with them. That is what we do. That is who we are. Dravok Sen stood very still, the knife in his hand feeling heavier with every word. For the first time in his life, he was afraid of something smaller than himself. Admiral Yesik stood up from his observation platform. The arena fell silent. This has been educational, the Admiral said slowly, but words are not proof. The human speaks of survival, but we have only seen photographs and stories. Leo nodded. Fair enough. What would you consider proof? The Admiral's gills fluttered as he thought. A demonstration, a real one, not against machines, but in conditions that test what you claim. Dravok's scales rippled with interest. What are you suggesting, Admiral? The Academy has simulation systems capable of recreating any environment in the galaxy. Let us see how well the human survives in hostile conditions. Yesik looked at Leo. Unless you object. I do not object, Leo said, but I have a condition. Name it. Dravok comes with me. The crowd murmured. Dravok's 4 eyes widened. Why? The Kalorian demanded. Because you are the weapons master, you should see firsthand what human survival looks like. Leo smiled slightly. Unless you are afraid. Dravok's scales shifted to an angry red color. Pride was everything to a Kalorian. He could not refuse. Fine, he said, I accept. Within an hour, the simulation was ready. The environment selected was based on Earth's Amazon rainforest, the most dangerous jungle on the most dangerous planet in the galaxy. Dravok and Leo stood at the entrance to the simulation chamber. Their weapons had been taken. Their technology had been removed. They had nothing but the clothes they wore. Well, almost nothing. You may carry one item, Admiral Yesik announced. Choose wisely. Dravok hesitated. What could possibly help in a jungle? He looked at the knife still in his hand. It felt wrong to rely on such a primitive tool. Leo watched him struggle with the decision. "Take the knife," Leo said quietly. "Trust me." Against his better judgment, Dravok kept the knife. The simulation began. Immediately, Dravok understood he had made a terrible mistake. The heat hit him like a physical wall. His scales, designed for a temperate climate, began to overheat within minutes. The humidity made it hard to breathe. Strange sounds came from every direction, and the vegetation was so thick he could barely see 10 meters ahead. "This is Earth," he gasped. "A small part of it." Leo moved through the jungle like he belonged there. He stepped over roots that Dravok tripped on. He avoided plants that Dravok walked straight into. "How do you know where to go?" "I grew up learning this." Leo paused at a stream and knelt down. He studied the water for a moment, then cupped his hands and drank. "Safe, drink quickly." Dravok drank. The water was warm and tasted strange, but he was already dehydrated. They walked for hours. Dravok struggled with everything. He could not identify food. He wasted energy fighting creatures that Leo simply avoided. His scales became covered in bites from insects too small to see. When night fell, things got worse. The sounds changed. Predators began to move. Dravok activated his natural night vision, but it was not designed for this kind of darkness. The jungle swallowed all light. "We should find shelter," Leo said. He had already begun building something from leaves and branches. "How long have we been in here?" 6 hours. Dravok felt exhausted. His muscles burned. His throat was raw. He had not felt this weak since he was a hatchling. "How do humans survive this?" "By paying attention." Leo finished the shelter and motioned for Dravok to enter. "Rest, I will watch." Dravok wanted to argue, but he had no strength left. He crawled into the small structure and collapsed. He woke to Leo shaking him. "Something found us," Leo whispered. "Stay still." Through the gaps in the shelter, Dravok saw it. A creature with 8 legs and mandibles that dripped with some kind of liquid. It was the size of a small ground vehicle. Dravok reached for the sunspear that was not there. Panic filled him. "The knife," Leo said. "Get ready." "That thing is huge. And slow. When I move, you strike at the joints. Do not hesitate." Before Dravok could respond, Leo burst from the shelter and threw a rock at the creature's face. It shrieked and turned toward him. Dravok acted on instinct. He came from behind and drove the knife into the joint where the leg met the body. The blade sank deep. The creature screamed. Leo was already moving, grabbing another leg and twisting. The creature stumbled. It took 10 minutes to kill it. 10 minutes of sweat and fear and desperate strikes with a simple steel knife. When it was over, Dravok stood over the corpse, breathing hard. That was, he could not find the words. "Survival," Leo finished for him. "No technology, no superior firepower, just will and a sharp piece of metal." The simulation ended. They stood in the arena again, surrounded by thousands of silent spectators. Admiral Yesick checked the records. The human survived 30 simulated days. The Calorian lasted 6 hours before requiring medical intervention. Dravok looked at the knife in his hand. It was covered in the creature's blood. It had saved his life. "I understand now," he said quietly. Leo nodded. "I know you do." 1 month had passed since the demonstration. The Hall of Arms looked different now. Earth's exhibit had been expanded, not with flashy weapons or impressive technology, but with more photographs, more letters, more stories. The rusty helmet from Verdun now had a companion, a jacket with bullet holes, worn by a soldier who survived 17 engagements. Next to it sat a compass used by a pilot who walked 300 kilometers through enemy territory after being shot down. Each item had a small sign explaining its history. Each sign ended the same way: the carrier survived. Dravok Sen stood at the front of a lecture hall, facing 200 new academy students. They came from dozens of species, all eager to learn the art of warfare from the greatest weapons master in the galaxy. But today's lecture was different. I have taught at this academy for 23 years, Dravok began. His voice was quieter than usual, less boastful. I have designed weapons that ended wars. I have trained soldiers who conquered planets. I thought I understood combat better than anyone. He paused. I was wrong. The students shifted in their seats. This was not what they expected. Dravok held up the knife, the same knife Leo had given him. The blade was clean now, polished until it shone. This weapon has no power cell, no targeting computer, no explosive yield. It cannot destroy a ship or crack a bunker, by every standard. I have taught it is worthless. He set the knife on the podium. But the species that made this walked into extinction events over and over again and walked out the other side. They faced monsters and plagues and each other. They lost billions to violence and disease, and they are still here. A student raised a tentacle. Master Dravok, what is your point? My point is that true weapons mastery is not about destructive power. Dravok looked at each student in turn. It is about understanding that a weapon is only as effective as the will behind it. You can give someone the most powerful weapon in the galaxy, and it means nothing if they give up when things get hard. He picked up the knife again. Humans never give up. That is their weapon, not plasma lances, not gravity hammers, just the absolute refusal to die. At the back of the hall, Leo Webb watched quietly. He had not planned to attend, but Dravok had asked him to come. The lecture continued for another hour. Dravok spoke about survival psychology, about the importance of backup plans, about why every soldier should learn to fight with primitive tools, not just advanced ones. It was the most important lesson he had ever taught. When the students left, Admiral Yesik approached Leo. The Kalorian has changed, the Admiral observed. Experience will do that. Tell me honestly, human, what did you really bring to this academy? Leo considered the question. The same thing we have always brought, he said. The reminder that the universe is not impressed by your technology, it is impressed by your refusal to die. Yesik nodded slowly, a valuable lesson. One we learned the hard way. Across the hall, Dravok finished speaking with a few remaining students. Then he walked toward Leo, carrying the knife. He held it out. This belongs to you. Leo took the knife. The weight was familiar, comforting. Thank you for returning it. Thank you for letting me borrow it. Dravok hesitated. I understand now why your species calls Earth a deathworld. Leo slid the knife back into his canvas bag. That is not why we call it that. Dravok's 4 eyes narrowed. Then why? Leo shouldered his bag and started walking toward the exit. He paused at the door and looked back at the Kalorian weapons master. Because everything there that could kill us, he said, we killed first. He left without another word. Dravok stood alone in the Hall of Arms. Around him, weapons from 1,000 worlds gleamed under the lights. Plasma lances, gravity hammers, neural disruptors, the greatest killing tools the galaxy had ever produced. But his eyes kept returning to the empty spot on the podium where the knife had rested. Later that night, he submitted a request to Admiral Yesik, a simple request but an important one. The next day, a new display appeared in the Hall of Arms, a small glass case set apart from the advanced weapons. Inside was a single item, a steel knife with a wooden handle. The sign beside it read, Human Infantry Knife Earth, 200 years of service, still sharp. Below that, in smaller text, the carrier always survived. Students stopped to look at it. Some laughed at first, but those who knew the story did not laugh. They stood quietly and read the sign and thought about what it meant. And somewhere on the station, a human engineer smiled and kept walking, his canvas bag a little lighter than before. Some weapons, he knew, were meant to be shared.